Thank you very much for agreeing to sit down with us and tell us about programmatic advertising and also the trade desk.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. We're super excited to do this interview.
Yeah, it's a rare opportunity for me to visit your company and actually have these conversations face to face.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, I'm interviewing on behalf of my students who will be watching, and they might have many questions, but I'm going to try to boil these questions down to either both the business or the technical side to Dave. First, I'm very interested in the history of the trade desk, particularly in the context of programmatic advertising. So, how this industry has evolved and how your company has evolved and, the general where it's going, where it's been.
Yeah, so let me give you just a little bit of history pre-trade desk. So I started in digital advertising around the year 2000 when a lot of people were running out of the building that is the internet, and I was running in, right? Because in 2000 it was on fire as the .bomb had just happened. But in that time, what I learned was nobody knew how to price ads. Like figuring out what an ad is worth on the side of a freeway is hard, but it's way easier than figuring out what a tiny little ad at the top of the page is worth versus what the ad on the side of the page is worth. And given that it costs money and there's friction to go put one up on the side of the road, like you got to deal with real estate, you've got to physically put it up. Putting up a banner on the side of a page doesn't take much effort. And so to some extent, advertising was broken by the internet. And so as somebody who was doing media buying in 2000, I was just obsessed with how do I solve this problem? How do I know that I'm not getting ripped off? How do I know what this ad is worth? And so we set out to create this mechanism that is an auction for every single impression. We did that together at AdACN. We sold that to Microsoft. And Microsoft and Google and Yahoo made that standard happen everywhere. And once that became inevitable, we wanted to get out of the exchange game. And the reason why is because exchanges make no money. And exchanges always get reduced down to be effectively dumb pipes. So if you look at the New York Stock Exchange, like all the proprietary intelligence lives on the edges. They live inside of Goldman Sachs. They live inside of Morgan Stanley. They live inside of hedge funds and high-frequency trading firms. The insights that can really make money don't live at the New York Stock Exchange because by definition, the New York Stock Exchange shares that information with everybody so that the table is even. So every individual player is looking for an unfair advantage, not ubiquity. So in a world where we're looking for an advantage, we said we wanted to create something that looks out for buyers, that is in the business of democratizing media buying, so that we, on an individual impression basis, in that individual auction, which we invented, we want to make it possible for an individual advertiser, BMW or Procter & Gamble, to take advantage of their own data and decide, should I buy this ad and what is it worth? We think that's the hardest job in advertising, and that's what we've dedicated this company to answering.
That's great. So Dave, on the technical side of things, so that simple idea of when someone open up a browser and see an ad pop up on the top, what goes behind the scenes and what kind of data and the algorithm, the kind of process that leads to that one impression, I guess?
Sure. So you can think of it in two camps. One is the exchange side, one's the buying side. So on the exchange side, like Jeff said, it's pretty simple. You get the data off the page and you federate it out to all the buyers. And it's actually pretty expensive to do, which is one of the things that makes that business hard. But you have to choose the right number of participants for your auction, send out all of the requests. You have to open a connection, send it, wait for a response, get the response back, put them together, run an auction. So it's straightforward, but it has to be done carefully and with very high efficiency to make it work correctly. And then on the other side, from our perspective, the basic task is there's 6.5 million requests a second coming into our platform. If I bought one of those for you, you'd spend between $5,000 and $10,000 this month. And so depending on your budget, I need to pick the right 1, 2, 3, or 4 every second. That's the basic task, is to be able to sort through all of that noise and go and find the little niche pockets of inventory that are going to be the best performers. And I think as an industry, we're at the starting point of getting that really right. And there's a lot
It's
of
a
work
lot
left
of
to do.
technology and I think going
Yep.
behind the scenes. So back on the business side of things, a lot of the there seems to be, a lot of the more and more big companies are embracing this whole programmatic thing and switching. They're allocating more and more budget towards that side. But there are also the medium and smaller enterprises that may not have a dedicated marketing team that fully understands or wanted to venture into it. A couple of barriers could be the budget, could be they just don't understand how things work. I'm just interested in, so what kind of client do you work with, and how do you prepare them to kind of enter this space so that they understand advantage, and what kind of budget are you talking about? What kind of clients most prepared to take advantage of the programmatic and automation?
One of the things that we've done differently than most of our competition, and this is a nuance that doesn't matter to most of your audience, but is an important difference, and that is we don't want to be the service layer because we think that's super hard to scale. So there's been a whole bunch of companies that they go out to small businesses and they say, hey, digital advertising is super complicated, so just give me your budget and I'll figure out how to spend your $500. Mm-hmm. But because that budget is sacred to the plumber who gave you all $500, he's calling every week saying, how'd it go? I haven't had any calls yet. What are you doing? And taking those calls, it makes it almost impossible for that business to be profitable. So what we've done is we've said, okay, if we believe that our technology, which decisions those millions of ads available every single second, better than any tech, better than anybody else's tech, our business model for getting that out to the world can't possibly be to take those calls from plumbers. Instead, let's power all the biggest ad agencies. Let's power companies who want to be the service layer. And we'll power thousands, even millions of people that can use the platform on behalf of others. So we power all the biggest ad agencies. We power all the mid-sized ad agencies. We power search agencies. We power all different types of service layers so that they can make those decisions on behalf of others. But the way that they have to think about it is not just that this is for big advertisers. Mm-hmm. This is also the democratization for mid-sized advertisers. So if you're a pizza shop that only wants to advertise to people within 10 miles of your shop in small town Ventura, California, you should not show ads in New York. And you definitely should not show ads in Africa. You should show ads in that tiny 10-mile radius. So what we're then doing is we're looking at all 6.5 million ads per second, and we're saying no, 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 no. And it could be because 99.99% of them are outside of that radius. But of those that are inside of it, some of them aren't likely to buy a pizza. Some of them it's 4 a.m. and you're closed. Don't show ads on that at that time. So figuring out like how to best spend that sacred $500 for that pizza shop is what we do. Servicing that, explaining it is what our clients do.
So if I understand it correctly, like earlier, the earlier players of the ad tech and the marketing tech company seems to be, we call them unicorns or disruptors. They're disrupting the ad and marketing space. But from what you're telling me, it's sort of you're working together now and then trying to find this, a bigger pie or a better service, but you're now really eating up to that agency side of the thing.
That's exactly right. In our S1, when we decided to go public, we decided to frame it almost exactly the way you just described it, which is we are not trying to disrupt the current players of advertising. We're trying to enable them.
Okay.
Right? So if we were to make an analogy to Uber, I'm not trying to get rid of all the taxi drivers. I'm trying to help them evolve so that they can stay in the game. So by enabling all the traditional players of advertisers to get into this data-driven decision-making instead of what has historically been order placing, they can make the transition to the digital era.
That's great to know. Again, back to Dave. So in addition to educate the advertising agencies and professionals, what can the companies do, or the marketing team, the brand managers do to prepare or to have a more meaningful dialogue so that they can they don't just throw the budget and say, well, here's an ad agency, do whatever you want to do, and let them make all the decisions. But on the business management side of things, and the marketers and the brand managers, what can they do more specifically? I mean, both on the technical side of things, how do they manage their website, the kind of data, the customer relation data they should have and prepare, and as well as on the business side?
Yeah, so I think it is important to just understand some of the basics on the technical side so that you can just correctly operate your website. And it actually is a really big challenge for a lot of organizations to, the business teams and the webmaster have to talk to each other in order to just get pixels laid down. I think that there is some basic growth needed there, but probably more important is for them to actually understand how they're going to measure success and what does success mean to them. And so there's a lot of outdated ways of measuring success, like last click and things like that, where if they can get into attribution modeling and understand what is really happening with their customer life cycle, what is their cost to acquire a customer, all of those sort of fundamentals of operating online are critical in this world and get more complicated. And there's a lot of noise in the marketplace telling people they should measure one way or another, and I think they just need to get smart on whether or not a technology company is going out and taking credit for customers they already had, which is very common, or if they're actually helping you find new customers.
So in other words, linking the business performance matrix to the technological matrix that you have and you can collect, but make them in a more meaningful, so link them in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, that's right. And so everybody should do retargeting. Retargeting is a very basic technique, which is people who have already come looking for your product, make sure you get back in their face at whatever cadence you feel is appropriate for your brand. But then in addition, you should be thinking about, how do I widen the funnel? How do I go find more customers? And by doing that, you'll create more of those retargeting customers as well. So it's a virtuous cycle, but it's not something that's widely understood.
I see. So since you brought up retargeting very quickly, what does your company's view or your product services being on data security and privacy protection and some of the things that the consumer side of things that they're very worried and concerned about these technologies and data-driven?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of confusion about what data is being collected and what it's being used for. And there is, we are a very conservative company from a data use point of view, because all we want to do is help brands reach their current customers and help them find new ones through modeling. And so it is all fully anonymous, and we don't handle anything like email addresses or phone numbers or anything along those lines. All we're doing is observing behaviors, preferences, and then mostly using models to determine that you're more likely to be interested in one product or another. Okay. So what we're trying to do is really help everybody, because we can make your internet experience more personalized. We can make the ads more likely to be something that you're interested in, without doing anything that I think you would find unexpected. We never want to serve you an ad where you're like, how'd they get that data? Or that's weird. And so we're putting a ton of effort into making sure that there's ground rules about, we don't do anything with health topics or anything like that. And we've participated in a lot of these self-regulatory committees or groups to try to define what are the ground rules, or what are the best practices for making sure that we never do anything that makes you feel like you should call the Wall Street Journal and talk about how bad your experience was. That's the last thing we want to do. And so we approach it from I guess a consumer first point of view, in a self-serving way. And doing anything to violate people's privacy is just a bad business idea.
The biggest brands in the world are interested in winning trust. From advertising, brands like Mercedes-Benz, they talk conceptually about how it takes 20 years to create a Mercedes-Benz owner. They're going to show you thousands of ads over those 20 years so that they develop a marquee brand in your mind, right? It is all about mind share. And in the new era, developing and protecting trust is harder. There's more moving parts. Yeah. And so if you violate trust so that you can just get that ad in, what have you done? Yeah. What have you done to your brand? So the biggest brands in the world want us to be conservative. And those are the people that we get most of our money from. So of course we're going to be consumer centric, because that's what they are.
Great. One last question. You guys went public last year, and in a very short span period of time, you your price almost doubled in this week. Where do you think it's going? And general, you mean specifically your company, but in general, the ed tech industry. Do you think it's the sort of golden age, or wait to see, or?
I definitely think now is the most interesting time in the history of advertising. And it's because it used to be that you just call up the New York Times or you call up Clear Channel and say, I want to buy the billboard or I want to buy the ad in the paper. It was just order placing. And when you would ask people, did your ads work? They're like, I think so, maybe. People came in the store. I'm afraid not to do it. I'm afraid to stop because my business is doing well enough that I'll keep doing it. That has been advertising from the time that we wrote on caves to the time we wrote on billboards. It's all been the same. And for the first time in the history of advertising, not only can it be customized, and not only can it be data-driven in terms of the choices we make and what we buy, but we can also follow it from the ad delivery, who saw it, who bought it, all the way to the end of the funnel and then repeat the cycle. So for the first time, we can answer the question, what's an ad worth? What is the impact that it's having? And so in this new era, like if you think about it from the perspective of a company like Dropbox, like what is the difference between Dropbox and the 100 other companies who were doing cloud storage for files 10 years ago? There's arguably 2 left with Box and Dropbox. You do the same thing in ride sharing. Uber and Lyft are left. Yeah. Was it because they spent more? Maybe. But as they spent more, they got more adoption. And the way they got more adoption was because of marketing. And I would say that marketing and advertising, the coefficient on the formula of success in marketing and advertising, that is greater than it's ever been before. And if the difference between Dropbox succeeding and the 100 other companies that failing was how well they marketed and created differentiation on their product. So if you're not doing data-driven decisioning, if you're not making better choices than your competitor, you are dead. And so this era of data-driven decisioning is taking over because for the first time we can be rational about it instead of irrational. So if you're not doing that, you're in trouble. And that means that even though right now data-driven decisioning, I think, only represents 2% of total advertising, the rest is changing rapidly. And the next frontier is television, and that is really, really interesting.
And it's also like we're in an era where product development is happening at a faster rate than it ever has. And what's really cool is that we can be so specific about an advertising campaign that you can take a very small budget for a niche product and you can go get it in front of the people who should see it, and you can become successful. Like one of the famous stories is the Tough Mudder running series, which is hugely lucrative now. Started with $8,000 of Facebook ads. And that was at a time when Facebook ads were pretty cheap, but it's even easier now to go identify that perfect audience to get your message in front of and grow your business without having to have a tremendous amount of scale. So it's just kind of fueling the innovation engine.
Great. Thank you very much. I mean, these are great insights, I think, just make us think and ponder. And then thank you again very much for your time and then your insights.
No problem. Thank you for focusing on programmatic and data-driven choices. I'm so glad that this is sort of moving upstream into academia because we need it to be instilled in the marketers and the MBA students because this is the future. We need them to understand this.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.